Hey gang, welcome to this Friday's Q&A session here at Local Marketing Institute. I'm thrilled to be joined again by my cohorts in crime, Jason Brown and Ben Fisher. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on? Happy Friday.
Good to see you guys. Lots of stuff to go over here today, guys. A couple of updates, and then tons of questions have already come in. We really appreciate that. Before we kick off, as always, I want to do just a little bit of housekeeping here. First of all, if you want to get a hold of Ben or Jason, you can reach Ben at steadydemand.com or at The Social Dude on Twitter. And you can reach Jason at reviewfraud.org and at Kaiser Holiday. Okay, we've talked about this multiple weeks running. Can we just take 30 seconds? Ben, why is your Twitter handle The Social Dude?
Okay, good question. So I started on Twitter, I want to say it was 2009, something like that. And it was starting to become the big thing, right? That everybody's doing. Studies were coming out on it, et cetera. I was going and I was speaking at PubCon, and Brett asked me, he's like, Jeff asked me actually, he's like, hey, do you have a Twitter handle? We'd like to include it. And I was like, Twitter handle? No, I don't. And so I went out and I said, okay, well, let's see. Ben Fisher, damn. Ben D. Fisher, damn. The Ben Fisher. Screw that. And so I was doing a lot of social type of stuff at that time anyway. I was doing a lot of social media for hosts. So I was like, okay, should I do something with social? Well, this is a social network, so fine, why not? I'll go with The Social Dude. And
now it should be like The Local SEO Dude.
Right, exactly. I was going to like rename it and go with like doing the whole thing like Gather Up did when they changed from Get 5 stars. But it's like, I don't know if I want to create a new profile and have people go over to that. So anyway, yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So Jason, we also talked about yours, Kaiser Holiday. What does that have to do with Jason Brown?
Yeah. So I'm a big, huge movie buff. So I took two characters from two of my favorite movies. So Kaiser Soze from Usual Suspects, because he's just an enigma and you're trying to figure out who he is, but he puts a scare into people. And then I took Doc Holliday from Tombstone because the lines that Val Kilmer delivered in that movie were so funny. And I'm just kind of like that witty, like to just spitball stuff. So I put those two together and created my brand. And then years later became the spam fighter extraordinaire that I am. So now it works.
Right. Well, so now everybody knows what your social media handles are and how they came about. Guys, go follow them. If you're out there on Twitter, follow both Ben and Jason out there. They're always posting some great stuff out there. Of course, I'm with Local Marketing Institute. And to that end, if you're joining us here today and you're not yet on our email newsletter, go to our website, sign up. It's right there on the homepage. You'll get the invites to this, a lot of other stuff. If you're not yet following us on our podcast, if you miss one of these sessions, you can go out there, Apple, Google, Spotify, you name it. We'll put them out there. You can follow us there. And then finally, make sure you join our Facebook group, Local Marketing Institute Connect. We're just past 1,600 members. And again, I'm actually rather proud that it's not like tens of thousands of people because we're very judicious. We only let in legitimate marketers and local businesses who want to talk about effective and ethical local marketing tactics, things that actually work. So there's Jason's also a spam fighter in our group here as well. So come on out there. It's Local Marketing Institute Connect, and you can find us out there on Facebook. All right, guys, we got lots of stuff to go over here today. Let me bring up the questions here, and we can get rolling. So first of all, Jason. There is something going on with GMB rolling out a different version of the search results for the local 2-pack. So talk about the GMB local 2-pack.
Well, yeah. So, it's not GMB, but it's the local map pack. So, back in the day when Google first started, we had the local listings on the right-hand side of the page. Then we started moving into 7-packs and we moved into some 5-packs. And then we've been the 3-packs with the occasional ad put in there if you're using your location extensions. But as of recently, we've been noticing a lot of tests where Google's been doing 2-packs. And now we are seeing a lot more 2-pack results. Meaning they're only showing 2 business results on mobile for a lot of queries. And it's really interesting too, as you look at the new breakdown and look and feel of this, there's still quite a considerable amount of space on mobile between the listings. So does that mean we're going to get, more opportunities for more ads to pop up locally? It'll remain to be seen, but we definitely saw, some huge ranking fluctuations this week with the Bright local flux score right about the same point in time that everybody was kind of noticing that it was coming out. So it does look like it's going to be, here for a while, and it does appear to be 100% rolled out.
So basically, Google's just been testing, again, like it always does, different kinds of outputs. And it's been seen in the wild now. People are seeing that there is 2 Google My Business listings in the map on a search versus the 3-pack that we're used to seeing. Is that it?
Yeah, but there's a couple of things that are important here, though. This is number one, it's only on mobile at this time. It's not really on desktop. So if you do a search for a personal injury lawyer or something like that, you're going to come up with 3. And I'm not sure. I mean, I spotted this basically in Chrome the other day, and on mobile. And it absolutely, every single query that you do, it's going to show it. I do want to say one thing, though. It's kind of interesting from a historical standpoint. I believe it was 2013 is when Joy actually spotted this in the wild on desktop. So it's been tested before. But I agree with Jason. I think that this is going to actually be 100% rollout at this point.
So that's probably going to make a lot of, I don't know if it's going to make a lot of businesses upset about that, now there's even less space. I kind of joked around on Jason and Joy's post about that they got to make room for more ad space. But what do you guys think about that? I mean, is this a reduction in overall visibility for local businesses, or is this not really going to have that big of an impact on most businesses?
I think it's getting closer to a 1-pack.
A 1-pack?
Yeah. Eventually.
I think this is gonna have to make people really work rigorously on their SEO skills and make sure that their listings are doing everything that they need to do, because I think it's going to become more competitive on mobile. It's already tough enough to get into map packs or to get results when a lot of the map pack results are below the fold on desktop or on mobile. So, you're really going to have to, dot your I's, cross your T's, and make sure that, you're doing everything above board. And, and I think a lot of, and we see it all the time, people come to the Google My Business forum and they're like, hey, I used to rank number 1 for, 18 years or, however long. And then all of a sudden they're like, I'm not ranking any longer. Well, it's like, Google's constantly changing things. You can't have GMB on a set it and forget it approach. You have to constantly be working on it and improving it, working on your links, your website,
Yeah, but the reason why I say 1-pack is think about how much experience Google already has with 1-packs. And it's mainly from, Eric, your favorite, voice search, right? That's been out now for we're talking about 2-3 years. So that's a decent amount of data to really harvest and to get things right. How shall I say? And I put that in big air quotes because it's not going to be right. But that's just where it could be heading.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where they go with this. I mean, I think it's just another reason why, look, Google's still important. It's still the 800-pound gorilla in the local marketing space. Critically important to continue to optimize it. But I think it's another reason why businesses need to continue to diversify their overall local marketing approach and look at a holistic approach with their website, Google My Business, other business listings, their reputation management, email marketing. You got to diversify and make sure that you're not just putting all your eggs in one basket. But that's just my 2 cents worth on that.
Yep. Remember, at the end of the day, you don't own the platform.
Yeah. And speaking of which, Google My Business, there's a whole big controversy about Google My Business now promoting competitors when someone submits an instant message to you, the business. You want to talk about that one, Ben?
Yeah. So messaging. Messaging is a pretty powerful tool, right? You can get push messages on your phone. You don't get any kind of email notifications or anything like that. But Sherry Benelli actually recognized this initially. And that was that whenever you went to go ahead and get a quote basically, it would go ahead and say, well, hey, here's some other companies and let's go ahead and get quotes from them as well. It's nice that it has the check boxes, by the way, because like places like Yelp, etc., they will just get you quotes from tons of places, right? So, and I guess that kind of leads into another thing is that this tactic is not new. This tactic has been done over and over by multiple platforms. And, in conversations that I've been having like on Clubhouse, et cetera, talking about this, people get pretty angry real quick. Like, how dare you, Google? I'm trying to get a quote. How dare you send it off to other people? And I think what people tend to forget is that Google owns your profile. You do not own your profile. You're just basically, in a sense, you're renting the space. So
you're
it's
not
totally
renting it. You're not even renting it. They're giving it to you for free.
Right. So, basically they can do what they want with it. And this is a great example of that, that they're just doing it. Now, I will throw this out there only because when that paid survey, the pay for play survey came out a couple of years ago, one of the options in that was to get messaging and not have it show up, not ask for competitors.
Which sounds so Yelp-esque.
Right. So you never know. I mean, I'm not saying that pay for play is going to come to Google My Business like this, right? Because I don't know that for a fact, but it is a possibility. Overall, I mean, if I didn't see how well messaging does for my clients, I would be recommending that they turn it off as well. But I do see it. And also I'm playing around with this right now to confirm it. But it used to be that messaging didn't, if you had over 100 accounts or listings in your account, you wouldn't get messaging. I've been playing around with accounts that have definitely more than 100 listings in them, and I'm still getting messages. So I'm kind of thinking they might have fixed that, but I'll have to confirm.
JB, any thoughts on this?
Yeah. My only thing is I've never been a huge fan of messaging since they first rolled it out. It's always been like really convoluted. And I mean, look, use it if it's going to be good for your business, definitely. But I mean, if it's not going to be something you're going to be using, you're not going to be responding to messages, and it's just another thing that your staff can't do, especially when you're working with, multi-location brick and mortars and hotels, and people that are, don't have the capacity to properly manage it, then don't use it. Not everybody is comfortable, sending messages and getting text messages back and forth or going through another app. I mean, if they really want to get a hold of the business, they'll call the business. If they want to leave a message, they'll leave a message. If they want to hit the website and fill out a contact us form, they'll do that. I don't know how many people are really going to want to be using, this messaging feature. And it appears like Google doesn't even know what to call it. I mean, we've seen it say message, we've seen it say chat. Like, it seems like Google hasn't figured out how to brand it and get people fully on board. And if this is the case, it's going to be where they're going to be sending your leads out to different people, then yeah, you're not going to want to do that because you want to keep all the traffic you can for your own business.
Yeah. This actually brings up a good question. I'm thinking about this as we're talking. It's like, I wonder if the business, because there's another feature that's called business messaging, which is pretty much the same thing, but it's hooked up in a completely different way and supports chatbots. You got companies like Bots Up, and you've got Aaron actually from formerly of Gather Up, Wakey, thank you. He and Mike actually have a service that they're coming out with the business messaging too. So I'd be kind of curious to see and hear if business messaging is going to do this as well, because that's that's a paid thing. So I would think the answer is no.
I mean, I think where I land on this, hearing you guys talk, and my experience as well here is, look, if businesses are going to monitor messaging, I don't think it hurts to turn it on. Take advantage of the messaging that's in there. If you see results coming from it, awesome. It's a bit of throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Okay, do you want to totally get rid of messaging because they're now promoting competitors in there? or do you want to take the lead and go after the business? So it's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out. But anyway, that was a big update that we wanted to make sure everybody out there was aware of. Any last thoughts on that before we move on? All right. Okay, so wanted to go here to question was, how should you properly use headers? I imagine as well as title and meta description tags on a website. So I would imagine they're talking about with headers, talking about H1 tags, H2 tags, things like that on a website. Let me tackle this one here and give you an example here. So it used to be way long ago, the way you coded things on a website, right? There's an H1 tag, a title tag. Hey, let me bring up my favorite one here. Let's bring up the Mike and Gurley plumbing site here. They're kind of my test study right now. So if you look at this here, there's an H1 tags and there's title tags. So the title tag is what, as you can see, shows up here in the tab. It's also what shows in a Google search result or when this page is shared to social media. So in this case here, it's Mike and Gurley Plumbing - Milwaukee, Wisconsin Plumber. That's the title tag. The H1 tag is what actually sits on the page. In that case here, this actually is the H1 tag on this page. Or like if you go to the contact us, it's the contact us is the H1 tag, things like that. It used to be talking about a lot of the H1s, H2s. Google would give more weight to those in its search results and things like that. And I think that's been pretty much debunked at this point here, that Google takes into account the entire page. I still like to say in general, though, it's good practice to say, hey, use the H1 tag and one H1 tag per page to describe what that page is about. And then you use H2 tags for things that are secondary. Like this is a subhead. That's an H2 tag, right? Or in the contact us page, that's the H1 tag. This is an H2 tag. This is an H2 tag, right? So I like to just kind of organize it that way, use H1s, H2s. I don't know whether Google or not, I don't have any inside information, whether they utilize this information in certain ways. It is certainly, though, the title tag is utilized when someone does a search for it. The other thing is in the meta description. So behind the scenes here in the code of this page, there's a meta description tag. And if you want to see what that looks like, okay, there's a thing called the Facebook Debugger out there. If you want to see what your website looks like when it's shared to social media, go to the Facebook Debugger. Twitter has one, LinkedIn has one as well. Put your website in there and see what it comes up with, right? So if you don't define your meta description, it's going to pull up the first text it can find. Or in the case of, let's take this here, in the case of a Google search, Google will just pull text out of your page, but you can define the text that Google shows up in a search. So for example, this is what we did with the Mike and Gurley, right? So we actually took his featured image on his homepage, overlaid his logo on it, and made a nice big featured image for that page. And most CMS systems, WordPress, whatever, you can set the featured image for that page. This is pulled from the title tag, and then this is pulled from the meta description tag. So now when his site is shared on any social media platform, this is what it's going to look like. In addition, this also appears heavily on search. So this is what's going to show up as a search, as the title of the page in the organic search. This is what's going to show up as a description of the page. And then on mobile results, you can sometimes even get images that will appear on mobile results. And that's what it'll pull from. So I think that they are important, not necessarily from a ranking perspective, but from a visibility perspective in local search and on social media. Guys, you have anything else you want to add to that?
No.
In the chat, there's some interesting commentary, and one thing I would want to bring up too, and that is that a lot of this is controlled by the open graph tags as well, which are nested within your head tag, and that really controls this. And another thing is that if you don't set this information, like if you don't set your description, if you don't set your title tag properly, then Google's going to go ahead and choose what it wants to show. So this is another way of having control a little bit, at least.
Yeah, you're right. And you actually can control the open graph, again, the open graph tags separately from the meta title, meta description tags as well. However, I want to be very clear. And Scott, I saw your thing that these are technically open graph tags. Yes, but no, because look at this. Based on the raw tags, we constructed the following open graph properties. This website does not have any defined open graph tags, but it knows this is the URL. It knows it because we didn't define it. It looks at the site meta as a backup. It looks at the defined featured image as the image, and it looks at the description. So you can specifically define those tags, but if you don't, Facebook and other social media properties actually automatically pull it out of your other meta information out there. So a little interesting
makes
tidbit.
sense.
And John says the Google only chooses to display the description implemented a percentage of the time. That is true. That is true. If there are some circumstances where Google will actually excerpt text out of the middle of your page if it thinks that it's better fits the searcher's criteria and would help better get them to your site. So that is a good point, John. But for the most part, it does pull out the description. All right. All right. If there's anything else out there on this, by the way, we're trying to monitor these things. If you have any questions, put them in the Q&A, or if you're on Facebook, put them there. We'll monitor them as well. Let's go on to the next question here. Jason, let's be good for you. Do reviews on other sites impact your Google My Business rank?
Not that we've been able to see. However, there's always that section of reviews from the web. And yes, you are scrolling down to show that. So you always want to look at you always want to do a search for your business name with address. So you trigger what we call the knowledge panel, and then scroll down and see where what Google is showing for reviews from the web. They won't show Yelp, so you don't have to worry about that because of the battle between them, and they also have that legal agreement in place about what Google can and can't do with Yelp and Yelp profiles. But yeah, you want to look and see where you are, how you are being rated on other websites. And if you are on a platform where your rating is this low, like a 3.7 out of 5, well, then that would be one of those areas where you would want to, try and solicit reviews for that platform and direct your customers over there to try to help offset that.
Yeah. So does this, I guess the big question was, do these third-party reviews, in this case, the Google's pulling for Facebook and from Untapped for this particular brewery, does this have any impact on ranking in the Google My Business pack if I were to do a search for local breweries near me?
Not that I've been able to see, and I know Mike Blumenthal did a study years ago, but I haven't seen it. I mean, what we notice that helps the rankings is always the business name, how close you are to the searcher, your reviews and rating, and how well your website is optimized. So if those are the things that we notice that have the biggest impact on rankings, which is why you can see a brand new business with no reviews or one review, completely dominate and outrank a business that's been around for a long period of time.
Yeah, and don't forget about category and business name; those also affect ranking. But I believe there's also been studies that have shown that reviews even on GMB only help up to a certain point, and so maybe that might be 20 or 40 or 50 good reviews, right? It might be 5 if they're great. But once you start getting up past 50, 100, et cetera, it kind of starts to become a little bit negligible.
Yeah. Also, I just noticed this, guys. See this live? Busier than usual?
Yeah.
they're actually getting, this is, I guess it just caught my attention. Maybe it's been here for a while, but this is saying, hey, at this venue right now live, we're seeing a busier than usual activity. That's pretty cool. It's pulling off people's phones.
It's pulled off. Basically, it's a combination. So it's either the device. I forget what the device is called, but there's a device that you can get to put on your basically on your roof or in your store, but also your phones. So it's gathering the data from both places.
Yeah. By the way, it's a gorgeous day here in Colorado. It's Friday, and I can bet there's a ton of people out there wanting to check that out. Anyway, I think that you're right, Jason, from what I've heard as well and what I've seen. There's no evidence that these reviews from third parties have much of an impact on your ranking of your business in the local business search. Nowhere near as much as actual Google reviews do. However, as you can see, it shows up on your knowledge panel here. So, you want to look good. You want to have a good. So I think it's more of a conversion factor, slight conversion factor than a ranking factor, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Let's pop back in here. And guys, we are trying to get to as many questions as we can. We will take them in the order that we get them. Ben, great question for you. Can you report a GMB violation anonymously? So I would guess this would be a spam listing, a fake listing. Perhaps we're talking about fake reviews as well.
And most of the people ask this question actually when they're using the redressal form. But I'm going to address both suggest and edit and the redressal form. So the first thing to understand is that Google does have your IP address. That's the first thing. So unless you're using something like Tor or otherwise, you're going to end up getting tracked. When you're doing suggest and edit, you should never do a suggest and edit with an account which is actually tied to a Google My Business location. Instead, you should either basically use a different Google account or, but this is against guidelines, use a sock puppet. A sock puppet is basically an account that is just for this. It's a fake account. It's, and technically you're allowed to do this, but it's also against the guidelines anyway. So, but that can help kind of insulate you if you're doing a lot of suggested edits, right? So like when Jason and I do a lot of edits, I mean, our accounts can get really horribly hit because we're going after stuff that nobody has ever seen before. So, we have to be very careful. So I suggest anybody be very careful when you're doing suggested edits. So another thing is now with the business redressal complaint form, again, you are tied back by IP address, right? And also cookies and all sorts of other things that can reveal your PII, personal identifiable information. Mm-hmm. So, but technically, I've never seen anybody really get called out on the redressal form itself. I have on suggest and edit, but with the redressal form, I haven't seen anybody sue Google to get that information. But technically, it could happen. So again, sock puppet account might really be a good idea here.
Or
hire somebody.
Get a hold of Ben or Jason. They can help you out. They're good at this. Or go to the Google My Business forum. But bottom line, businesses shouldn't be afraid of reporting fake companies. I mean, this information is like the business redressal form. If I were to report fraudulent or misleading information on Google Maps here, is Google going to share this information with the business that I'm reporting? No. So I wouldn't be, I understand that, most people are concerned that, hey, if I report this, I'm going to get retaliation from that business, or they're going to go hire a company to give me bad reviews or things like that. But if you submit this form, this information is not shared with the business that you are reporting on here. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. But, again, I can see there might be circumstances. Okay.
Yep.
What is remarketing? Okay. I keep hearing about remarketing. What is it and why is it important? Okay. I don't want to go too deep into this one here, but we'll dive a little bit into it here. Remarketing is basically when you have the ability to advertise to someone who has already interacted with your business somehow. Maybe they've visited your website. Maybe they're on your email list. Maybe they're a follower of yours on Facebook or another social media platform. So you have the ability to go out and do an ad campaign to remarket to those people, rather than just like a demographic or geographic limited marketing, right? So if I wanted to say, hey, I just want to hit parents in the Northern Colorado area, that's a demographic market. Or if I want to say, no, I want to do an ad to people who have already done business with me. I've got their email address, or they visited my website in the last 30 days, or they're following me on some social media platform. That's what remarketing basically is. You guys have probably all seen this, right? You've gone to Amazon or to eBay or some other site, and then you go to another website, and all of a sudden there's the product you were looking at, or sitting right there. That's remarketing. So the reason why remarketing is so big in the local space, and frankly, a lot of local businesses don't use this, is because who are the people who are most likely to buy from you again? People who are already familiar with your brand. I just lost my stupid thing again. Well,
We're gonna have to rename you, Eric.
I'm gonna have to rename me No Signal Found.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and just change my camera here and go back to my good old webcam. Hang on one second here. That is hilarious.
Well, at least you have a nice mugshot.
All right, now I'm back to my good old webcam here. Start my video. There we go. We're going to go back to old school here, webcam. I'm not going to look as slick, but that's all right.
It's all right. You always look slick anyway, Eric.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. So anyway, the remarketing is basically, the people who are most likely to buy from you. Number one, your existing customers, people who've already done business with you, or number two, people who know your brand, who either follow you on social media or have visited your website before. So those are more likely to convert. So Craig Mount talked about this during one of our sessions a while ago. He said he sees usually a 10 times better return on investment from remarketing ads versus demographic targeted ads, just going out to a cold audience. That being said, there's a much smaller audience, so you kind of need to do both. But that's in essence, that's what remarketing is, and maybe we'll do another deeper dive on some ads at a later point. Yeah, Ben?
I just want to say one thing. So I've done a decent amount of remarketing, and had a video that was up on the Google My Business Support Center for about reinstatements, and still do. And so basically what we've done with that is remarketed that on YouTube. Remarketing on YouTube is insanely inexpensive. So you can basically retarget all of your users who have watched your videos and they've left, and now you can just put it back in front of them again, or put another video in front of them. In-stream advertising is like cheap, really cheap, and converts.
It does. Yeah. So if you're advertising on Google, you can do Google and YouTube. If you're advertising on Facebook, it covers Facebook and Instagram. Those are the two biggest networks out there. There's other kinds that are out there, but those are the two biggest. JB, this might be a good question for you. Here's an interesting one about unique company description across locations. From a Google local ranking perspective, is it better for each location to have a unique description in their Google My Business listing about how that company and their location serves a specific city or market? Or should we just use the same general company description across all locations? Interesting.
So there is no ranking benefit whatsoever for your about the business section. So don't even think about it in that regards. I was dealing with the company yesterday that got suspended. They hired the wrong internet marketing company. They geotagged their photos. They added keywords stuffed in city business descriptions. And apparently the guy got his entire profile blacklisted. And so every client that he was associated with and working with got suspended. So that was the first thing I had to do yesterday, was go in there and clean up the about from the business section to get it cleaned up and remove every single service and city area that they wanted to serve. So yeah, do a quick description that's going to basically give consumers some information about what your business is. You don't need to, you're not trying to be over salesy, but if you are an HVAC company, say you are an HVAC company, you've been in business since 1938. That's good, valuable stuff to put in. If you want to say, that what area you serve, that's fine. But when you start going overboard, Google's not going to like that. And they can A, suspend you for that, or B, block a reinstatement for that. So do what's going to be best for your business and for your customers, and think about the user experience.
Yeah, and I'll second that. I mean, in all the testing that we've done, we have never seen the business description ever have a change in rankings. And if you think about it, it's a way that a business owner could really manipulate rankings. So why would Google give that power to the merchant? And that's kind of across almost every field in GMB. It's kind of like what Jason and I were saying earlier. When it comes to ranking factors, the ranking factors are very, very tiny as far as GMB. And everything really is geared towards educating or giving information to the consumer. Basically, it's all about conversion.
Well, so, I mean, although Google still allows businesses, or doesn't allow it per se, but businesses can still get away with spamming keywords in their business title and ranking better. That's a whole separate discussion here, because don't do it. I'm not advocating it. But I think you're right. Everything I've seen as well, Ben, Jason, I agree with you that the description does not appear to have an impact on ranking. And the biggest thing is write what makes sense. Write what makes sense to the end user, what's going to help convince them to want to do business with you. Also, just a little side note, not everything you put in the description shows on your Google My Business listing, right? So if I do
it's only
this, I'm going to misspell it here, but if I look at Resurrection Christian School, here's a business description right there. Oh, it cuts off. So put what you need to, and the first, I figured how many characters, I think it's like 300, 400 characters. Put whatever I've got it, and the thing, put whatever you need to in the first part, and then just know that it won't show the whole thing there unless someone clicks more. So little heads up on that one for you guys. All right. Let's go to the next one here. Jason, here's a good one. Or Ben, let's show this one to you maybe. Somebody sounds like it's up your alley. In order for a home office to have a pin on the map, it needs to have signage, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Something like
this. So that's an example of some awesome signage. Jason and I have seen our fair share of really, really interesting signage when we do reinstatement work. And this is a prime example of what people think is good signage. I've seen Sharpied, I've seen tarps. We've seen people just clamp signs onto fences. These are not examples of good signage, by the way. And these are examples of signage that Google will not accept. So homes, how can you do this? I had a dumpster client and work for a big franchise. Anyway, they had their
so the client themselves weren't a dumpster fire. You're talking about they actually did dumpsters.
Oh, they were actually kind of a dumpster fire. But anyway,
okay.
No. So they had the listing at their home and they had the address showing. And we went over the pros and the cons, basically. And I said, well, okay, so let's take a look at Street View. You really want to show your address. Okay, great. Do you actually take clients, first of all, at your home? And so that's the big acid test, by the way. It's business model. It's not about ranking. Google looks at it from a business model standpoint. That's a great idea, Neat. Anyway, we should do that, Jason, by the way. Anyway, so basically, what we had to do was, so we went over that, and she said that they do actually have people come over once in a while to their home. This is subjective. Nobody's going to be able to prove this, by the way. So we started taking a look at, okay, so how can we do this? And what we ended up having to do is because the HOA, the homeowners association, would not allow a signage on the front lawn or on the front of the home. So that's the first consideration. The second consideration is basically placement. So we did want to have an entrance because there was an entrance around back where they did actually have signage on their window, but the rules state that you must have signage which is visible from the street. Mm-hmm. So what we had to do was we had to put a sign that basically said entrance around back, and we put that on the garage door because that was visible technically at a 45-degree angle from the street. And so we're able to prove this, of course, with a video. But anyway, that's how it had to be done. And it was working with the HOA rules and also working with Google My Business guidelines.
JB, any thoughts?
No, Ben had it perfectly.
Okay. So I think the key things here is it's not just signage. It's some form of permanent signage visible from the street. But in addition, the number one litmus factor is you've got to actually serve clients there and meet clients there, right? I know a lot of businesses that try to put themselves on the map and get a pin. And the whole idea is they want to get a pin on the map, right? Rather than being a service area business.
And to be fair, that's because everybody thinks that having a pin is going to lead to good rankings. Again, it's not about the customer. It's about how am I going to rank, which I get it. Mm-hmm. Psychologically, it makes sense, right? But truthfully, think about this other aspect of it. And that is that if you are saying that you will take customers at your home, then you better be prepared for somebody to show up. And as a matter of fact, you better be prepared for somebody like me and Jason to show up.
During stated business hours too.
Correct. Exactly.
Right.
During stated business hours. So if you say you're open 24 hours, which a lot of dumpster companies will, okay, cool. I'm going to show up at 2:00 in the morning, or I'm going to send a PI out. They're going to go ahead and take a picture in the fact that you're not open. And you know what? Somebody's going to leave a review. Somebody's going to complain to Google. You're going to get redressed. You're going to get suspended.
So this brings up a really good question here, which I see some chatter about here going on. Back to the whole thing of, does an in-person business that can get a pin have a better chance of ranking and being found in local search than a service area business? Because I think that's why a lot of people want to get that pin in their local business or their home-based business rather than being classifying themselves as a service area business where you don't actually get a pin on the map.
Can we say our favorite 2 words on every SEO question that we get in unison? Sure. 1, 2, 3. It depends.
And so, yeah. It's just like diapers. It depends.
It depends. So bottom line, look, if you actually are serving customers out of your home location during your stated business hours and it's staffed, and you have permanent signage that is visible from the street, you can go ahead and add the address. Otherwise, do it as a service area business. Fair enough?
Yep.
All right. Okay. So now getting into some other questions we got here. Let's see here. Let's go here. Gordon, are reviews still as important as they used to be for Google ranking? As a constancy listings with less than, say, 5 reviews outranking listings with more like 35 reviews? Good question.
Well, we answered it. Well, Ben answered it earlier. Yeah. And Mike Blumenthal's done a study where it says, a business only needs an X amount of reviews to rank. And we don't know what that number is, but after a certain amount of reviews, you aren't going to see that ranking benefit boost any longer. So if your business only needs 3 reviews to rank, then going and getting 1,000 reviews, you're not going to see any benefit. Like we said, your business is going to be ranking dependent on your business name, how close you are to the searcher, the category, your website, if you have your basic set of citations in place. So no, we see it all the time. We will see a brand new business with keywords in their business name, no reviews, no website, just the business name, the telephone number, and it will outrank anybody else in that market just because of how Google puts an emphasis on their business name, category, and proximity to search. So
100%. And you know what? Because we're talking about messaging and because we're talking about reviews so much today, I need to put out a PSA. Jason and I talk about this a lot, but I see it every single day with messaging where these overseas spammers, to put it nicely, will send messages to a GMB profile and about buying reviews because it's going to help your ranking. And unfortunately, I've seen some people who I thought were really intelligent respond to these and get sucked into it. And I warned one of my clients last night, because I saw the message come in and I sent him an email. And I said, look, don't tussle with this guy. This guy is going to bury you, basically, because whenever you engage with these people, if you don't buy their services, you will get a slew of negative reviews.
Ben, that happens on Facebook as well. If you get a Facebook instant message from someone wanting to sell you a review or something, don't even engage. Whether it's an email, Facebook message, Google My Business message, don't engage.
Exactly.
Yeah. So good PSA on that one. Okay, let's go another one here. Speaking of this, great one from Mario. I've seen people spam their GMB business name with keywords. He asks, is there any negative effect to that? And I think we should talk about, okay, what are the short-term effects versus the long-term effects?
You want to start, JB? I just got done talking.
It works really, really, really well. But when you go in and you try and update a business name and try to add your keywords in there, you run the risk of getting suspended. And then if you have to apply for reinstatement, there's a whole series of steps you're going to have to go through to apply for reinstatement. And I don't want to go through all the things that would need to be done. But if you were to do a complete rebrand and do everything correctly and above board, then yes, you can definitely do that. There's a lot of benefits to it. But I have seen some categories, especially with personal injury attorneys, and they brand themselves as, Petaluma personal injury attorney. And what I've noticed is they don't rank and perform as well for personal injury lawyer or vice versa. So there are some cases where you can actually pigeonhole yourself and only rank for specific terms and shoot yourself in the foot and miss out on a bunch of other marketing. When it comes to nationwide brands, Joy Hawkins did a study where it's caused a 2-pack result to show up on desktop. And it also has shown listings that were not close to the searcher and has put a bunch of, and has prevented businesses from being able to rank, and they've actually lost visibility with it. So word to the wise, that's what happens when you do it. But if Google comes in, does an integrity check on the listing, and they can't authenticate that is your business name, or you have a whole bunch of listings that are not in compliance, that's when you're going to get either a listing suspension or the big granddaddy of them all, the account level suspension. And I talked about it earlier, where every listing that you are associated with gets gutted and they all get suspended. And now they all have to apply for reinstatement, whether they were legit or not legit. Just having a good amount of listings not in compliance. So just do Google My Business Terms of Service, or TOS, and you can read all of the guidelines. But it's crucial that people do that.
It's a risk reward thing. Is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, bottom line, guys, just don't spam the keywords in your title. You may get a short-term benefit, but you're really putting your business and maybe all the other related businesses at risk for that. So Ben, Tricia asked a really good quick question here. I think I saw you respond in chat. Does Google My Business allow you to block a message sender after they send it to you, like you can in Facebook?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see this, but let's see.
No, your wonderful little make me look beautiful filter is blurring it.
All right. So anyway, I just went onto one of my profiles and I checked, and you just click on the little 3 dots in the upper right hand corner and you can block a report.
Awesome. Larry, I want to get to your question, but there's a good question that came up that's a real fundamental question that I think would be great for us to chat about, maybe kind of even being to wrap up the session here. Carla asked, how do you find a good SEO company? How do you know if they're good? Should you use an SEO dashboard or just completely outsource this? And I think this is what a lot of businesses are asking. Look, guys, how can I find someone who I can trust and who can actually do good work for me?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of an age-old question, right? In doing this for now over 2 decades, I hear this question a lot. And the best thing I think that you can do is really look for warning signs, look for the red flags. If somebody's going to go ahead and tell you that I'm going to get you on page 1 for your business name in 3 days or a week or 2 months or whatever the guarantee is, walk away or run away or block. Do that. So if somebody, yeah, exactly. Right, Nate. If somebody's making a promise, I always look at it this way. And this is what I say is when somebody says, guarantee me if I'm going to rank, I say, you know what? I don't own Google. If I owned Google, we wouldn't be talking, obviously, right? I'd be on an island somewhere probably. And I could guarantee it then, but I don't own Google, so I can't guarantee it. So there's that. You can always ask for references, but normally if somebody's going to give you a reference, they're going to give you their best references, right? So that's kind of like, ask your friends, ask family or, other business owners and see who they've used, especially if you're in like a specific category, like a lawyer or home services, that can also get you really good results as well. JB, go for it.
Yeah. So I put it in the chat, but if you're dealing with a company and they're going to say something like geotagging XF data or Google Stacks, they start talking about, DA links, instant rankings, money back guarantees, run, head for the hills. That is not a reputable
Google
company.
Map rings.
Yeah. That's a Google Stack. But yeah, I mean, Look, if they say that they have the keys to, instant ranking and they just come across, ultra salesy, then run. Bright Local actually came out with a list of reputable, local SEO companies that people can, look into. But yeah, a real professional is not going to come out and, try to razzle dazzle you, like they're trying to sell you a used car. Like if they come across with like that type of feeling, then go elsewhere. Like, but if they're talking, but if you're talking to a company and they're asking you questions about your business and they want to get to know, what your customers are, how is your marketing strategies, and tries to find out about your company and you as an individual, then chances are you're going to be working with a reputable company than just somebody that just wants to, wine and dine you.
Yeah, I want to talk about money back guarantees and value really quick. So if somebody's going to, I'll just give a really practical example, right? Everybody knows that, State Demand, we do, thousands of reinstatements, right? So I've had somebody come to me and say, I hired X, I'm not going to say the person's name, for $50 to do a reinstatement and they failed. My first gut does say you get what you pay for. And so if somebody's going to come to you and say, I'm going to get you on page 1 and it's going to cost you $200. And everybody else that you're talking to is giving you quotes that are in the $1,500, $2,500 range, more than likely you should probably go with that $1,500 to $2,500 range.
So you want to know my white trash moment of the day here?
Uh-oh.
So I'll share this because when I was first married, my beautiful bride and I, we used to actually have lunch together and we would watch the People's Court while we were doing this. I'd come home from work, we'd watch People's Court. Judge Marianne Millian, right? And the one phrase she always said was, the cheap comes out expensive.
You got that right.
Right. So guys, look, there are no guarantees in this. Like Ben, I think you said it perfect. Nobody owns Google. If you're seeing people out there who are making these amazing guarantees, you will see Facebook groups out there where all these people have the secret sauce of how to fool Google. They're looking for geotagging images and Google Map stacks and backlink tracking and all this stuff instead of just the fundamentals. And executing well on those. Big flags. Just to share real quick, that one directory you guys were talking about out there at Bright Local, we'll put this into the description when we do it, but it is the Bright Local agency directory. Again, I haven't vetted this, so I don't know what their criteria are for it. Been thinking about maybe doing some sort of a little kind of friends of LMI page of local marketing companies that we know that are reputable. Maybe we'll put something like that together for you guys.
All I can say is
anyway,
that thing is ungodly to sign up for. It is so difficult.
It is a difficult directory to use, but hey, it's better than a sharp in the eye with a poke stick, with a poke in the eye with a sharp stick right now. Anyway, guys, really appreciate your time today. We are out of time for the day. Ben, Jason, thanks as always. Hope you guys have some fun weekend plans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And for the people who put the questions in that we didn't get to, we will put those in, and those will be the first questions that we try to get to next week. So we look forward to talking with you guys next week. Oh, exciting news. Tim Capper is joining us next week. If you don't know Tim, you're going to love the guy to death. He's awesome, and he is an expert in a lot of fields in local SEO space. So be sure to join us next week, and we'll get the email out to you all on that early next week. Have a wonderful weekend, guys.
Bye.
Well.